Hello everyone, Miss Gretchen with Rubies and Moonstones. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are new to my channel, I hope that you like it here and will consider subscribing. And if you are returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for continuing to support my channel. I really do greatly appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you so very much. I really love these Richard Lorenz birds, and I want to hang them all in my stairwell, and I want to give them a really artistic look. And so I looked into all sorts of different options, and I have been trying to find something really simple to do, and something that's pretty cheap to do, and something that I could just do by myself. And looking into stretched canvas or using stretcher bars didn't really seem to be a good option for me, either because trying to find things in the exact size that I need was really difficult and pricey or non-existent. And so I needed to come up with something that I could customize to the specific sizes that I was going to need for these canvases. So this is the idea that I've come up with, and I went through a few phases in trying to come up with it. So the first thing I did was practice on rainbow flower petals. And so this is with a thinner piece of foam board, as you can see, but I think that it looks pretty good. Still all of the same. You don't see the edges as they are tucked around. On this one, you will notice that the diamonds just come right up to the edge. They do not go around the edge. So that is an option that you do have, and I can show you how to do that. With this method, there's just one little step that would be changed. So if you don't want to lose any of your diamonds, this is definitely an option for you. But I wanted to see what it would look like with the diamonds going around the edge and then not having to worry about any of the ink. Of course, if there was ink showing on the edges, this foam board is thin enough that you can't see really any of the ink anyway. But on the thicker foam board, if it was showing, you could just remove that ink with some isopropyl alcohol, which I do have a video showing that technique that I will link in the description box and or try and link in the video here. So I wanted to practice going around the edges and practice on a larger piece of foam board. So I practiced on Out of Control by Richard Lorenz. So this was the first one that I tried this technique out on. As you can see, the drills do go around the edge. So you have to be okay with losing a little bit of that. For me, the way that I have done it, I have measured out that it's a centimeter on each edge that I lose to ensure that I have enough to go all the way around the foam board that I happen to purchase. But there's not that much that actually shows up on the back. And I think it turned out pretty good, and I really like this look. I just feel like it looks a little bit more artsy. The corners is the most difficult part, but I was really happy with how this turned out, and so I decided to continue working with the going around the edge process. Oh, and on this one I had to actually combine some foam board pieces. So I didn't have enough that fit. This was just kind of an awkward size. So I just cut some and taped them together. If you can see this line here, and then there's also a line there, which is good to know because there are some really long and also just a lot bigger Richard Lorenz birds that I'm also going to be wanting to frame in the exact same manner. And now I know that I can just tape those foam board pieces together and it should be sturdy enough to work. So, but I don't feel like I'm missing too much by losing that centimeter going around the edge, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. So the next bird I decided to practice on was Purnell. So this is a square. Out of Control was a round. Purnell is a square kit, and he was a little bit bigger to do. And so I just kind of wanted to try and perfect this method before I did a video. So I did him as well, and I think that these edges turned out pretty good too. So it's just the corners that are tricky, like I said, but I really like how it looks and how I think it's going to look on the wall when you see just a little bit going around the edge. And since on all of his pieces so far that I have been working on, it's really just background and that little extra centimeter on all of the edges. I don't feel like I'm losing that much of the picture by putting the drills around the edge, and I feel like it just makes the mounting look that much more professional and artsy, I guess. So I'm really happy with that. And it's especially going to be the case with Gladys, since she is just an all white background. Also, because I am planning on hanging these birds and having them hanging in my stairwell for a long time, I really wanted to make sure that they looked really good, not only in mounting, but also drill placement. So that's why I spent so much time on her, and I did do the mica method going all the way around on her white border, and I will insert a link to the video of that as well. I know that I don't really need to do that, since when you're looking at diamond paintings, you're looking at them from a distance and you don't really see the lines, but I still think that even from a distance that the mica method really helps to make the background look better overall. And I'm really glad that I put the time into it, since this is one that I'm going to have on display all year long. So there's a few things that we are going to need to actually do this. So you are going to need a piece of foam board that is a little bit bigger, that's either the exact size if you can find it, or at least a little bit bigger than the painting that you are going to be using. And so this one is just a bit bigger, and so that is going to work for me. And then you need some type of double-sided adhesive. So this is a type of double-sided adhesive that I found on Amazon, and I will link it in the description box. It looks like it was for helping to hang tile on your walls or something like that. But I was just looking for a nice thin double-sided adhesive that I could lay across the back of the diamond painting, you know, in between the diamond painting and the foam board. And this is what I found. This is what I used on my other pieces, and it seems to be working really well. And it also came with a really thin X-Acto knife and also a smoothing tool. So I will be using both of those in this process as well, while trying to find a good type of double-sided adhesive, because I was struggling to find one. I also ordered this. This is a little bit thicker than I wanted. It's kind of a foamy type double-sided adhesive. And I'm sure you can get it that's not foamy, but this is the type that I happened to buy, and I figured out a way to incorporate it into this mounting process. So that's what I'm using today. I may or may not buy the same type in the future, but I will at least buy something very similar, because I do need something like this to help with the edges on the back. So you'll need something like this, and then you will need a good X-Acto knife and a good metal ruler. At least for me, I really need a metal ruler. So the first thing that I always do is I measure the diamond painting. So we should know what the size of the drill field is, because especially on Diamond Art Club kits, but regardless of the kit, they usually give you an idea of the size. Here on Diamond Art Club kits, it's 49.6 by 65.2 centimeters, but I'm just verifying that for my cutting purposes. And I prefer to use my metal ruler for this than the thin rolly out type, but this can work as well. It does look to be about 49.5 centimeters. And what did I say? It says 49.6. So that's great. And I'm just I wrote down 49.5. That's the number that I'm going to use. And then I'm going to measure this side. Seems like about 65.2. Oh, hey, that's exactly what they had. So great. Diamond Art Club is pretty notorious for being exact, right? But depending on the company that you use, Diamond Art Club can make mistakes. Other companies can make mistakes as well. Depending on the company, you don't always know if their measurements are for the actual drill field or for the entire canvas. So it's just good to know that. So now that I have my numbers, I wrote them down on a spare piece of foam board here. I am going to grab my foam board. All right, so now we are going to be taking our foam board and cutting it down to size. I did notice that this one bows a little bit, as you can see when I lay it down here. So I am going to want to make sure I put my drills on this side. Then that way I can try and either weigh it down, or at least when it's on the wall, it's not going to be trying to pop off from the wall. And I think that this probably happened because I was storing this in my closet for a few months, and I think that that's just how it happened. Over time, I don't believe that it was purchased this way. We're going to want to cut this down to size. So as we measured it, it was 49.5 centimeters by 65.2 centimeters. If you are wanting to display yours so that your drills do not go over the edge, then you would want to cut yours to the exact dimensions so that you can have your drills just come right up to the edge and fold the ends over. However, if you want to do the style that I am currently doing, where it wraps around the edge, then what I did is I subtracted a centimeter from each side. So that would be subtracting 2 centimeters from each of these. So I want to cut mine to be 47.5 by 63.2 centimeters. So that is what I am going to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this in a time-lapse format and go ahead and measure this out, and then I'll be back. I have measured and drawn my lines. So it is 47.5 centimeters going across this way, and it is about 63.2 going the long way. So now we are going to cut with our good utility knife. I also like using my metal ruler for this as well, because it helps me make sure that I have a really good straight edge to go against. So I'm actually going to cut the short side off first, because then that way I just don't have quite as much to cut when I do the long side. And I did double check my measurements to make sure that it was accurate before I decided to start cutting. So I line up my metal ruler really well, and then I just cut against that. All right, there, we got that off, and we can put that to the side, and now we'll do it to the other side. And there we go. Moment of truth. I'm going to take Gladys and lay her over, and then kind of bend her around, and it is just enough to go around the edges, so that's exactly what I want. Let's check the length, and yes, exactly what I want there too. So sorry, I wish I had a bigger space for filming, but unfortunately I do not, so I am just going to show you this in the best way that I possibly can. All right, so before we put adhesive onto this, we do need to make some cuts to the canvas. So whether or not you are wanting to wrap the drills around the foam or just have it going exactly up to it, you will need to do this step. And you're just going to be wanting to cut off the corners. So I am going to take my blade and line up my metal ruler here again, and I'm just going to bring my utility knife right up to where the corner is and cut a line. And then I'm going to do the same thing here and cut a line so that I just take out that corner. And now I'm going to do that in all 4 corners. Okay, so now we just have the corners cut out. And if you are just wanting to bring yours up to the edge, that's all that you're going to need to do for the corners. So then that way, when we are wrapping, you bring your drills right up next to the edge and wrap it around this way. And then that way, when you are doing your other edge, then you just fold this over and you just kind of have a double crease there. And I can show you how that is replicated on this one. So as you can see, I did the long side first, and then I folded the short side over the top of it. So it's much easier to do it without having the edges go over, but I do prefer the look of the edges going over or around the foam border, so that is what I'm going to do. So if you are wanting to have your edges go around the foam border, I found it to be helpful to cut off just a little bit more. And so you could get very precise about like cutting a 45-degree angle or something like that. I did not do that last time so much, but I do want to just cut off a little bit more. So I'm just going to line this up. I'm trying to not cut off any of the drills. If I have to cut off a little bit extra of the canvas, that's not going to affect it at all. But I am trying to avoid cutting off any of the extra drills. If you know that you are going to want to fold over your canvas so that the drills roll over the edge like I did, you don't need to cut out this square first. You could just line up the ruler like I am doing right now and just cut off the entire corner. As I'm doing. So you don't need to do 2 steps, you just do 1 where you just cut off the corner or the entire corner in an angle. But since I wanted to show you how you can do this going just up to the edge and over the edge, I wanted to show you in both ways. Okay, so now that we have our canvas all prepped and ready, because we took off those edges, and that's going to help us in a little bit, I'm going to move this to the side and bring out the foam board. So the first thing that I am going to do is to roll out this double-sided adhesive. It'll be about 2 going across, so I'm going to do it in that way. Just going to pull this edge up. And I'm going to line it up as close to the edge as possible. It does not have to be perfect. We're just trying to get down as much double-sided adhesive as we can. Now, like I said, it came with this smoothing tool. So now that I have a little bit down, I can press it onto the canvas and get out any of those bubbles. And then I also use this to help me push it down as I roll back. So I've got it all really nice and flat now. I'm going to roll it back a little bit more, as straight as possible. And then I am going to try and flatten the air bubbles back out towards the roll. So it's kind of helping to push the roll away. Okay, so now as I am getting to the end, for whatever reason, I can never do a completely straight line. I don't worry about that too much. So now I'm going to just take their little X-Acto knife and try and cut this so that it will become as close to the edge as possible, hopefully without going over. And again, I never seem to be able to do that in a perfectly straight line. I don't worry about that. This is not something that people are going to see. It's just the point is to get down as much glue as possible. Now I am going to do the same thing on this side. Alright, so just to try and show this a little bit better, I'm going to try and roll this out to about where I think that that's going to land on the edge, and then cut with my blade. And I would actually rather have less than more, as in I would rather not have to cut off an extra piece that has come off of this edge, just because it's kind of a pain. I did that before and it was kind of a pain to cut it back off. So, so after you have gone over and made sure that this is all completely smooth, we're going to flip it over. And I'm going to go ahead and start laying this tape. Now, since this is a vertical piece, I'm going to fold over the sides first and then the top and bottom last. So that just tells me that I want the short ends to have tape going all the way across them, and I want to have the tape lined up as close to the edge as possible. As close to this edge as possible. So I probably could have gotten it a little bit closer, but that's close enough. Doing the same thing over on this side. And so now we are going to do the same thing. Okay, so we are ready to start laying down our canvas here. And I should have mentioned this before. Before you actually lay her down, you want to make sure that you run your hand over your diamond painting and make sure that you don't have any loose drills. And then if you do, you push them in. Now I've already pretty much done this because I did the mica method on it, but since I did not do that on my other canvases, I did double check them to check for any missing drills, any popping drills. I just found a couple right there. And if you have a little roller, this would be a good time to go over it with the roller to help make sure everything is really pushed down into place well. Sometimes it helps to get down at another angle to see if you might have some popping up that you weren't able to feel. You might see them kind of sticking up somewhere. Now, because this is going to be rolled over onto the back, you will still be able to see most of the legend. And whatever is cut off down here, I can see over on this side. So if you do happen to realize that a drill has popped out, you can still see which color needs to go there from your legend. Now, one thing that I have done before that I forgot to do this time, I take my ruler and then I find the edge and mark where about a centimeter is. You can even put this in front of your light pad to really be sure that you are finding where that centimeter line is. And then you can draw a line across. This is an optional step, but it just helps to give us kind of a guideline to help us center our poster board when we're laying it down. And nobody's going to see the back, so it doesn't matter what it looks like anyway. So I am going to remove the glue sheets from this double-sided adhesive that we are going to lay the canvas down on. Okay. So now I have the double-sided adhesive, and see where it kind of needs to go about here. And there, I'm not going to push it down yet. I'm going to kind of make sure that it is lined up right. Going to fold the edges just ever so slightly around. Now this is a pure white border, so it doesn't make a huge difference, but we do just, you want to make sure that, you know, GLADIS isn't going to be crooked on the other side. So now I'm going to kind of push the adhesive down a little bit, but that's also going to just take effect over time. Now I'm going to fold over the side, so I'm going to remove this piece. If you are not going to roll your drills over the edge of the foam board, you follow all of the same steps. Just right now, you don't have to worry about your drills going over the edge. It will just be coming right up to the edge. And I want to pull this up relatively tight. So I'm going to pull pretty hard, but not too hard because I don't want my drills to pop, but I want it to be a nice, solid connection, I guess. And then I'm going to push this edge onto that piece of glue. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. So I'm going to remove the tape. Looks like I have a bubble there. I'm not going to worry about that at this point. I'm just going to kind of try and do this at the same time so it's well centered. And just pull this up. Now I am pulling pretty stiffly, but not as hard as I can, because I don't want the drills to pop. I just want them to curve around the edge. And then I'm going to press this down. Okay, so now we are going to do the top and the bottom. I'm going to start with the bottom. Now it's kind of like folding a present. Because I did not cut off any drills. Now if you don't care about the drills, and in this case it is just white, so it wouldn't matter, you could cut off that extra centimeter here and just get rid of it. What I'm going to do instead is kind of fold it like a present. So as I pull this up, I'm going to tuck in this corner like that, and then I'm going to pull this up and around. And I'm going to do it on this side, and then I do the other side. The first side is a bit easier to do than the second side. I do want to expose a little bit more of the glue, the double-sided adhesive, so I am going to cut off a random chunk here. Since this is the top and the bottom, I really want to make sure that it sticks well. Okay, so there is our tape. So here I am folding it in like a present, and then rolling the top over. I don't want that to be too strong at the moment because now we need to do this side, but it's a little harder to get this one tucked in since that one's already started. So here I'm folding it in and pulling it over. And now that I have them both tucked, I can pull on both sides and now pull up on the middle to make a more firm seal. So that is what that corner looks like. And that is what that corner looks like. That's extra canvas. So let's go ahead and finish this up by gluing down this final side. So again, I'm just going to cut off a little bit more of this corner. And this time, since I've kind of already shown you how to do it, I am going to kind of try to fold in both sides at the same time. Like you would a present. So there they are, folded in and pulled over. Pull up the top, press, and seal down. There's that edge and that corner. You could add some glue or something to hold those in place. I have not sealed any of my paintings, but that is something that you could do. I don't know how bendable. You'd want to make sure it is a type of sealant that makes your canvas still a bit bendable, but especially with this white border, I really don't feel like I lost anything by taking off that extra centimeter, and I think that she looks really nice. Let me zoom you back out. I think she looks really nice on that canvas, or on that foam board. I just think it looks a bit more professional, or I think it looks more like an actual piece of art, which it is, and I want it to be displayed as such. So now she is ready to go on my wall, and that is how I'm doing it. What do you think? Too much work? To me, this is a pretty simple process. It's really pretty cost efficient. I've been using the same roll of tape on all four, and the same roll of tape here on all four diamond paintings that I have done this on so far. The poster board wasn't very expensive. I can pretty much order everything that I need from Amazon and have it delivered straight to my house, which is another important thing when I live in a rural area and I can't just go to Hobby Lobby whenever I want to. So for me, this works really well. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I think that they're going to look really good on my wall, and I can't wait to actually see them finally displayed on my wall. That's going to be a huge moment for me, and then every time that I complete a bird, to get a new bird up on that wall and to see my flock come together, I'm really excited about that. So let me know if you have any questions about the process or comments, suggestions on what I might do to make things better. But yeah, I've been trying to figure out how to do this for a while and been looking for a lot of ideas and suggestions from other people and just haven't found something that works great for me. And so far, this is the best that I was able to come up with, and I'm pretty happy with it. So, yeah, let me know what you think. If you have any questions, if you think this is something you might do, or take pieces out of it and incorporate it into a way that works for you. Because what works for me in my house with the things that are available to me and for my reasons may be different than what works for you. And that's fine. That's the whole point of watching everybody's YouTube videos, is to try and figure out what pieces work for me, what doesn't, how can I combine them into something that does work for me. So just because I'm so excited about getting these birds on my wall, I will insert a picture here that shows you what they actually look like, all hanging on my wall, and I think that that is pretty exciting. So yeah. All right, that is going to be it for this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like. If you would like to see more of my content as I create it, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you can be notified anytime that I happen to upload a new video. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you all have a fabulous day. Bye-bye.